Good afternoon, Mahesh, for being here for the interview. At the outset, I would like to ask you, Gujarat, Bangalore, or Mumbai, where you are born?
Okay. I was born in Bangalore. My parents, ethnically, I belong to Gujarat. My parents were Gujaratis, but soon after their marriage, they moved to Bombay to look for work. And their work brought them to Bangalore. And they liked the city so much that my sisters and I, we were born and brought up in Bangalore. So till about 5-6 years ago, I was living in Bangalore. Now I've moved to Mumbai. So my connections with Gujarat is just through my roots. I do not have any direct connection with Gujarat, although I do have cousins and their children living there.
Oh, could you just please tell about the tree of your family?
I have two sisters. My parents are no more. We all grew up in Bangalore, my sisters and I. And my eldest sister, Padma, she is very, very interested in the arts. And even as a child, I remember, she would tell me stories from the Ramayana and Mahabharata and Krishna's stories. And that was my first introduction to story, as sister used to tell me.
What's about your early education there?
I studied at Baldwin's High School. Again, it was a Christian school, English medium school. And I guess my sisters also studied in a convent, Cluny Convent. My parents were keen that we receive an education in English. So they put us in the best schools they could afford. And so we grew up speaking English. And also being sort of from a different state, it was always a mix of languages. Like we spoke Gujarati with my mom, but we spoke in English with one another, my sisters and I, and sometimes we spoke in Kannada with some of our neighbors, or English in school, so it was quite a mix.
Then after schooling, then where are you, your college?
Yes, I did my BA at St. Joseph's College of Arts and Science.
Whoa.
Yeah, so I took history, economics and political science. An interesting story there is I wanted to take literature, psychology and sociology. But the only men's college that was offering this combination, my parents heard that it didn't have a good reputation, that the students took drugs, etc. So they said you could join any college but don't join this college.
Well, let us start about your writing career. You started your profession as a copywriter first, before you decided to enter into writing plays. Could you just tell us something about your copyright days?
Well, one of the things that I thought I could do doing theatre was also do advertising as a source of income. Because so many theatre people at that time were in advertising as well. So I became a copywriter, and I was there only for about 6 months. Then I realized I didn't really enjoy advertising so much, so I left.
You were born and brought up, you were talking in Bangalore. What made you to then come to Mumbai?
Well, for many years my plays were being produced in Mumbai. And I used to travel to Mumbai very often, so it wasn't a city that was new to me. And also for personal reasons, because after my mother passed away, I wanted a change of scene. And so there was a producer in Mumbai who had invited me earlier. I said, why don't you come to Mumbai for 6 to 8 months and direct 2 plays for me, and we can have a good contract. I'll put you up in Mumbai. So I took his offer.
Is Mumbai gave a space for your true calling?
I think so, because it's only in Mumbai I've done professional theatre. The theatre I did in Bangalore, which was quite interesting, but I couldn't call it professional theatre because the actors were all had other jobs. I didn't have the kind of infrastructure you need. Bombay offers that. All my actors are professional, they're trained or experienced actors.
Well, I just want to ask another question that what moved you to come to theatre?
What made me come to
Yeah.
theatre? Well, at a very young age, at 9, I'd seen a Gujarati play, and this fascinated me. This sort of surreal world, and the high drama and the action on stage. So I think I wanted to be an actor, because that's, as a child, you don't know anything else about theatre. You think it's only about the acting.
Right.
So I did nurture that ambition to do theatre early. Of course, for a long period it was dormant, because at that time there weren't very many opportunities. Even today there are very few opportunities to do theatre professionally.
You told that you have been inspired by, fascinated by Gujarati theatre first you saw.
That's right.
But you moved to writing English theatre.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's because Gujarati was no longer my language growing up in Bangalore, because we were encouraged to speak in English, and because of the education I received, for better or for worse, I ended up speaking in English. Like in our school, we were punished if we spoke in any other language other than English.
Yeah.
So it was a very strict education, and I think that's how you sort of switch in your mind. Plus, my parents were also not very, they weren't closely associated with the Gujarati culture there in Bangalore. It was a very small community then. And Bangalore did, even earlier, even when it was a small town, it had a cosmopolitan environment about it. There were many Anglo-Indians who lived in Bangalore, many Parsis as well, and many non-Kannadigas who lived there. So it was always a healthy mix of cultures.
I'm told that you also managed your family business for about 10 years.
That's right.
How do you manage business with writing
Theatre.
plays?
Yeah. Well, I managed it very badly. I had no option, because at that time, when I was disillusioned with advertising, my father suggested I assist him in his business and do theatre on the side, and I agreed to that. So for about 10 years, I used to assist him with his business. I'm not sure how much I contributed to my father's business, very little I would say, because my interest was clearly in theatre. So after that I decided I wanted to do theatre full time.
You are a well-recognized theatre writer. How do you take this compliment?
Well, I think it's also a compliment to the fact that we have such a variety of subjects here in India. We have so many stories to tell, whether it's through theatre or cinema or novel. There are a vast number of stories which are yet unexplored outside their regions. And I think that's the advantage also of writing in English, is that it is possible for us to cross-pollinate, to go beyond the region.
Mahesh, yesterday I was interested to ask you one question, which just today I want to ask you. Conflict of metropolis is a mainstay in your plays.
Mm-hmm.
While rural India seems to be absconded.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a deliberate move or what?
It's not deliberate, it's by default, because ultimately a writer has to be true to his environment, his time and place. If you want to write about, say, rural Odisha, you will need an Odia writer. Nobody else can write it as faithfully and truthfully as that person. So in that sense, writing is connected with your time and place, and my sense of place is definitely urban. I'm not a rural, I never lived in rural India. So even if I write about rural India, it would be very dishonest.
Oh, that's nice. Playwright, director, actor, drama teacher, trained dancer, businessman. Who is the real Mahesh Dattani?
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say it's the dramatist, because I think what excites me most is theatre. So I would say that everything, and in drama, as you well know, it uses all the skills that you have, life skills as well as artistic skills, whatever skills you have, they can be employed in drama.
Are you happy with the present scenario of English play writing in India?
I don't think any artist is happy with the scenario, no matter how brilliant or supportive it is. And certainly, I would say that for Indian theatre, let alone English language theatre, it's very poor in infrastructure. There's not enough money. There are not enough venues. So it's a whole. There are too many problem areas to discuss in an interview.
Who are the playwrights you pin your hope?
I would say there are plenty of young writers like Abhishek Majumdar, who writes in Hindi and in English. I think he's a very good playwright. Then there's Anupama Chandrasekhar in Chennai. She is doing really well. Her plays are being done abroad, and I think she's well on her way to international recognition. Then there's Airavati Karnik, who writes in Hindi. In Bombay, she also writes in Marathi. Brilliant playwright, wonderful.
You are perhaps the youngest playwright whose plays have been included in college syllabus. What is your instant reaction to it?
Well, I found it very hard to believe that people would actually study my plays, because I never wrote them to be studied. But yes, having said that, I would truthfully say it is a form of recognition. And I think I'm recognized today as a playwright simply because all these universities have prescribed my plays for their syllabus.
Well, Mahesh, you use most of the idioms in your plays that are used in a day-to-day life in Indian homes. Any specific reason, or as a style consciously you are doing it?
Sorry?
Is it a style, or you are consciously doing it? Using the idioms that are spoken day to day in India?
Yeah. No, I think theatre has, there are different kinds of theatre. You can use stylistic language, you can use realistic language. So I think you have a choice. These are artistic choices.
The sets of your plays are usually complicated but visually attention grabbing. Movement of the characters are also vividly described. Do you adopt this method to give space to spatial as well as to temporal levels of the plays?
Yes, absolutely. Because as you rightly say, what you have in theatre is time and space. It's a spatial temporal art. And I guess maybe because of my experience as a director, I tend to, for me, the set design needs to come. Even if other directors don't use the design, I need to have a design for the action to unfold in. And usually I sort of allocate time and space on different levels as well.
Why do you create a complex characters in your plays like a gay man, male dancer, transgender people, disabled people, but no younger generation people suffering from unemployment or social insecurities?
Mm-hmm. See, there are subjects and there are subjects, and I think enough. Of course, it's a situation and a condition that continues to plague us, and I think there have been brilliant writing about it in the 70s, about unemployment from Bengal, and I'm sure from Odia as well. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is Pratidwandi. Satyajit Ray made a brilliant film on that, about unemployment, and it was definitely a concern of the new India after independence. The rising unemployment, etc. But there are writers who can write about that better than I can.
You are directing all your earlier plays.
Mm-hmm.
Are you still continuing to do so?
No, unfortunately I don't have the same amount of time, but I would like to, because that sort of helps me put the finishing touches to my play.
Your plays have dealt gender politics in a various levels through sexual orientation, domination, autocratic father, unnerving the dependent son. Mm-hmm. What about the domineering wives bullying their henpecked husbands?
Well, I know that is a perfect material for comedy. That there's so many comedies where you have the man who's henpecked. The woman is domineering, and I think that's almost become a stereotype of what we perceive as strong women. and that only helps men feel more threatened, that if a woman is strong, she will then dominate you and bully you. And that's just a fear that men have. You know?
Yeah. You have shown your characters of politicians of corrupt nature for which we were once attacked by Shiv Sena, if I am wrong. Could you please elaborate about the incident?
Well, surprisingly, it was not my play that I've written. I wanted to direct a beautifully written play on Sara Shagufta, the Pakistani poet of the 70s and 80s, who was who lived in a very male-dominated society like ours, probably even more so. That, you know, the mushairas at that time only had men. She was the only female shaira, you know, so people were very quick to label her as a loose woman, as someone, you know, who was sexually available, and destroyed her completely to the point that she ended up taking her life. Now, the Shiv Sena objected to me doing a play about a Pakistani poet.
Oh.
And I feel that was such a stupid thing. They didn't even know that it was written by an Indian writer living in Delhi. But my point was that even if it was written by a Pakistani writer, I have every right to do it. We are in a democracy.
Yes. In the beginning of 2014, we have witnessed the emergence of new political leaders in India. Will you change your attitude about the old politicians and create new political characters?
I think politicians by nature are a different breed altogether, and I think they are a direct reflection of our cultural identity as living in Rajyas, that we are looking for a king. We're not looking for someone who's going to govern us. We're looking for someone who would rule us. And so we will continue to find people who rule us either through corruption or through dynastic rule or whatever form. So unless we change, our politicians are not going to change.
Wonderful. You have used Hindi, Gujarati and Kannada in your English plays. Have you ever thought of writing play in a language other than English?
Well, I would like to. I'm not sure whether I have the confidence, but I would definitely like to write a play in Hindi. It's something that I feel now, having moved to Mumbai, I'm learning what is called Bombaya Hindi. Of course, it is not pure Hindi. It's not the kind of Hindi spoken in in the north. But it would be nice to write a play in Bombaya Hindi.
But who are the playwrights you are inspired in India?
Vijay Tendulkar, Mahesh Dattani, to some extent Girish Karnad as well. Then there's Chandrasekhar Kambar, who's a Kannada writer.
Yes.
So these were playwrights of one generation before me, and I think I grew up being very much in awe of them. So they have really been my inspiration.
Any overseas playwrights?
Yes, Tennessee Williams, Ibsen, and Edward Albee.
How do you conceive the idea of writing a play then?
Well, it's very subjective. I think one needs to sort of collect one's thoughts, so you need a lot of space and silence for that, and it's getting to be more and more difficult as I travel more to festivals and do my workshops and things. So I have to fight for my time. But I think to have a sense of solitude is absolutely essential to write.
When do you write in the whole day?
In the mornings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you use computer? Or
I use the computer because it's easier to edit.
Do you revise your script?
Constantly, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You are a trained Bharatanatyam dancer. Are you still in practice?
No. That was 25 years ago or 30 years ago, I think. Yes.
Well, is it that fact that a dance like man is a personal account of your life as a male Bharatanatyam dancer?
No. See, I did study dance, and I am, I did encounter a fair amount of critiquing at that stage, but it's not autobiographical for the reason my parents were very supportive of my dance, And my father was not the kind of autocrat that my character in the play is. I did that obviously for dramatic purposes.
You have written plays, made adaptations, radio plays, and written scripts, engaged in teaching, participated in workshops, managed family business, and directed films. How do you manage such different genres?
I know. I guess each one has been a learning process for me. So I feel I'm glad I've done all that, because I feel that I'm a little richer as a person, richer with experience. I mean,
Why marginalized and victimized figures get abundant space in your plays?
I wouldn't call them victimized, marginalized for sure. I guess I'm interested in struggle, and I think it's the people who don't have privileges who struggle more, and it's that struggle that I find dramatically very interesting.
Most of your plays have unexpected ending. Is it done deliberately to keep readers or audience engaged, or it is a natural process that you adopt?
It's a bit of both. That you don't want an ending that is predictable, that you really need to think. But I personally believe that if you're truthful to what your characters are going through, you will come up with unpredictable endings.
One of your much discussed plays, Dance Like a Man, has made more than 500 shows so far. Could you please tell your experience with this play production?
Well, it's Lilette, the base production, that has done so well, and I think has succeeded in sort of exploring the universal aspect of the play, because again it is about the man-woman relationship and you know, the struggle of the individual versus society. So these are the two things that she has taken, and in her production these stand out beautifully, and that's what makes the play very accessible to people who may not be familiar with Bharatanatyam.
Had there been no Lilith Dubey, what fate would have been for Dance Like a Man?
Yeah, I think it would have died a natural death, because you know, a play lives in its production, and you need people of the caliber of Lilith Dubey to make the play reach its audiences.
I guess there must be excellent working chemistry between both of you.
Yes, absolutely. Like, we feel that we are the artistic equivalent of husband and wife. That you know, just as a husband and wife sort out domestic issues, Lilith and I sort out artistic issues in a similar way.
Have you ever disagreed at any point of time with her during the production of Dance Like a Man?
Of course, we disagreed, and we agreed, and we agreed to disagree. That's part of a relationship. Yeah.
The perception of writers who write short play on structure, strategy, and mechanism are different from the writers who write a full-length play. What is your view on this?
I think it's harder writing a short play because you have so much impact to create without any build-up. You don't have the space to develop, that it has to arrive, and at the same time it has to provide a context. So I think short plays go more with metaphors. I think they work better. I think brilliant short stories, if you look at them, they're great writers. You know, whether it's Chekhov or, you know, O. Henry or Guy de Maupassant, whoever you look at them, their short stories are brilliant, and that's a sign that they're great writers.
You have adapted Richard Stockwell's Killing Time, a thriller, as a double deal. What made you to take an unusual combination like Sandhya Mridul and Mahesh Manjrekar?
Well, Mahesh Manjrekar is a theatre actor, and he was just perfect for the part. Of course, he is well known now as a film director and film actor. But the fact is that he was just right for the part, and I got along very well with Mahesh. You know, he's very professional, and Sandhya Mridul was introduced to me by my producer Ashwin, and I just loved her energy. She didn't have the kind of theatre experience that Mahesh has, but Sandhya is an instinctive actor. She picked up stage techniques so quickly, it actually amazed me.
Okay, your last play, Big Fat City, is a dark comedy. How does your audience take on Indian dark comedy?
Well, that's a little difficult for them too, because you have the discomfort as to, are we supposed to laugh or are we supposed to, take this seriously? And I think good dark comedy does is that actually it's a tragedy, that there's humor, but you feel uncomfortable about the humor, and that's what makes you think of the darker side of it.
Yes. Here in JLF, besides Girish Kannada, I have heard Michael France, David Hare, and Tom Stoppard speaking. Three of them are eminent British living playwrights. What's your view about them? Could you just elaborate?
Oh, I think I'm familiar with Tom Stoppard and Girish Kannada's work. Tom Stoppard is brilliant. Again, with wit and humor, he has a wonderful sense of wordplay, and I think not being of British origin, he sees the language very differently and can, exploit the nuances of the language superbly.
Okay, how comfortable you feel with the radio plays, Mahesh?
Well, it was a learning experience because radio drama is very, very difficult. It's so easy for a listener to turn off the radio, unlike in the theatre or in the cinema. It was a learning experience.
Yes. What are the limitations in writing radio plays, you feel?
There are no limitations. It's a liberation, almost like writing a screenplay, because you could travel from your characters, you could go into your characters' thoughts like how you can in a novel, or you could put them on an aeroplane, or you could put them in a crowd with 1 million people over there. It's possible to do that in ways that it is not possible to do in cinema as well. So radio drama is very liberating. At the same time, it has to be very precise.
Could you just please tell about the struggle of your first radio play with the BBC?
Well, when the BBC commissioned me to write a play, I was very afraid because I didn't understand the medium at all, not having grown up on radio drama. So they were kind enough to give me radio plays of Harold Pinter and Tom Stoppard and other well-known English writers who do radio drama. And I could see how subtle they were in use of dialogue, that the assumption is because it's radio you put it all in the dialogue. Actually, it's the other way around, where less is more, that you could convey a lot more with very little. And I think that was a learning experience.
Radio plays have not got due attention by our drama critics in India. Mm-hmm. Have you ever felt that?
Well, yeah, I always wondered why radio drama isn't popular in India, because radio is such a fantastic medium. I think it reaches out to millions of people so effectively and so cheaply. And I think it's an even stronger medium than television, because you could listen to radio while you're traveling. You could be on a bullock cart or in a Mercedes Benz and still listen to radio.
You have directed a few good films like Mango Shuffle, Morning Rag, are critically acclaimed films you are associated with. Is the protagonist of your films, who is a South Indian musician, drawn from a real character?
No, not from a real character, but it's a story, but there are models, there are inspirations, I would say.
How was the transition from a play to films?
Well, I think it was a little difficult because it's a different grammar, it's a different approach, it's a different process. The only common ground is dramatic structure, that you're telling a story which has a structure.
But the protagonist who has played by Shabana Azmi could have been taken by
a South Indian. I know, that's in fact when I cast Shabana, everyone was against me, saying that how can you, she doesn't look the part, she doesn't look South Indian, she doesn't sound South Indian, why don't you look at Sridevi or Shobana or whatever. And yeah, they're great, very fine actors. But something, I mean, you just go by instinct. I just felt that Shabana would have to work very hard to do that character. And knowing Shabana, I knew that she will take on the challenge and work hard at it. And I was proved correct, because whoever's seen the film say, oh, she's brilliant.
Yeah. What made you to set Morning Rag in a remote village in Andhra Pradesh.
That's the story, because the story is about a woman in a village who aspires to be a singer in the city.
Did the film do commercial well?
No.
I think this film was an entry to the Oscar.
That's a misnomer. It wasn't. The Indian government doesn't like me for various reasons, so it wasn't even in the panorama. Plus, I do not have the resources, I do not have the contacts, and I don't want to have the contacts to push my film into the nomination. It happened because my US distributor, who distributed the film in the US, he put it up for the Oscars, as applied for nomination, right? It didn't get a nomination. But it was in the short list of 300 films, yes.
Oh, nice. Any sweet memory during the course of making that film, Monica?
Sorry?
Any sweet memory?
Oh, plenty. Yeah, plenty of sweet memories and not so sweet memories. I think the villagers whom I've used in the film, I did not use the professional extras from the Telugu film industry. But you see real people in the film, and I love meeting those real people.
Could you just tell me the reason why did you change the ending version of a film, Dance Like a Man, from surreal to normal? Was there any compulsion?
That was Pamela Rook's, the director's decision to not end with that surreal ending. For whatever reason, that you actually had the characters in real time and space in a hospital, whereas I saw them moving beyond the natural time and space and speaking in some unknown area.
What is your next film project?
I don't have a film project.
Do you feel that a film version of your original play could be made without disturbing its sensibility?
A film can never be made without disturbing the original writer's sensibility. It's just not possible, and that's something writers need to get to terms with.
Yeah. You had no fear for the content of a court for writing about a judgment delivered by Supreme Court of India recently. I saw an article.
It is not contempt of court. I don't think questioning a judgment is contempt of court. That cannot be seen as contempt of court in a democracy, for sure.
IPC came into force in 1861, and the issue of Section 377 has remained unresolved for more than 100 years. What could be the reason you think for this inordinate delay?
I think we're still living in the past. That I don't think we have actually gotten over our colonial past. There's so many things that continue to exist that actually should have, like in the British Constitution, that article has been removed. In the 60s, they repealed the section that criminalized homosexuality. But we continue with that even today.
Yeah, you had published an article 5 days after the Supreme Court's verdict in Al Jazeera, where you had said silence equals death.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think that's true of all minorities, of anyone who feels marginalized. So by minority, I don't mean just minorities of numbers, but minority in terms of identities. So I think if the reason why minorities continue to be marginalized is because of the silence.
Mahesh accused our contemporary society for its deafening attitude, but didn't accuse the judge who gave the judgment. Is it not a kind of a suppression of the freedom of speech?
Accuse the judge?
You didn't accuse the judge. You have accused the society.
Yes, because the judge is a part of society. He is as much a victim of society as everyone else. And what I have criticized is that as a judge, he has to rise above the morality of society. He cannot be a victim of that himself.
What's your next mission, Mahesh?
Well, I have 2 play projects which I'm very keen to focus on in 2014.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So nice of you.
Yes, thank you.